The week before my mother-in-law's 60th birthday, the house felt like it was balancing on a wire stretched too tight. Every conversation ended in whispers. Every phone call from her made my husband's shoulders stiffen. I tried to ignore the tension, telling myself that anniversaries and milestones do this to families. They magnify expectations. They turn love into obligation. But this was different. 3 nights before the celebration, I walked into the bedroom and found my husband sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. His face was pale, like he had just signed a contract with fate. "She deserves something big," he said without looking at me. "For her birthday," I asked gently. "For everything she's done." I promised her a car. The word hung in the air like a dropped glass about to shatter. A car, not flowers, not a vacation, a car. I felt my stomach twist. We had been saving for years, carefully, painfully, for our own apartment. Every skipped dinner out, every overtime shift, every small sacrifice was supposed to lead us to a front door with our names on it. "And where exactly?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Are we getting money for that?" He finally looked at me. "We'll manage." Those 2 words are the most dangerous words in marriage. The next morning, before I even finished my coffee, I saw the bank notification. Every cent from our joint savings account had been withdrawn. Every single cent. For a moment, I thought it was fraud. A hacker. A mistake. But then I remembered his promise. I remembered the pale look on his face. I called him. "Did you take the money?" I asked. Silence. Then, "It's for Mom. I'll put it back." "How?" My voice cracked. "With what?" He didn't answer that part. I sat on the kitchen floor after the call ended. It wasn't just the money. It was the betrayal. The fact that he hadn't asked. That he believed his promise to his mother mattered more than our shared future. The birthday party was scheduled for Saturday at a rented banquet hall. Decorations in gold and white. A massive cake shaped like a crown. My sister-in-law bragged on social media about the surprise of the year. Everyone thought they knew what it was. I did too. On Friday afternoon, I made a decision that shocked even me. I went to the bank. What my husband didn't know was that the dealership required full payment before delivering the car. He had withdrawn the money, yes, but he hadn't transferred it yet. It was sitting in his personal account. And because we had full financial transparency set up years ago, I could see it. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. I simply transferred every penny back into our joint savings account and then moved it into a fixed deposit that required both our signatures to withdraw. Then I turned off my phone. Saturday arrived bright and loud. The hall sparkled. Guests laughed. My mother-in-law walked in wearing a glittering blue dress, soaking in the attention like sunlight. "My son has prepared something special," she announced more than once, her voice heavy with pride. My husband avoided my eyes all evening. Finally, it was time. He took the microphone. His hands trembled slightly. "Mom," he began, "you've always been my hero. You sacrificed everything for me. And today, I want to give you something that shows how much you mean to me." The guests clapped. He reached into his pocket. Nothing. No keys. His face changed. Confusion first, then fear. He checked the other pocket. Whispers began spreading like wildfire. He pulled out his phone and stepped aside, dialing frantically. I watched from my chair, calm as a lake before a storm. He looked at me across the room. I didn't look away. When he came back to the microphone, his voice had lost its confidence. "There's been a small delay," he said. "The car will arrive next week." The hall went silent. My mother-in-law's smile froze. "A delay," she repeated loudly. "What delay?" His sister stood up. "You told us it was paid." All eyes turned to him. And then to me. I stood slowly. "There won't be a car," I said, my voice clear but not loud. "Because that money wasn't his to give." You could hear the hum of the air conditioner. "It was our savings," I continued. "For our home. For our future. And I will not apologize for protecting it." My mother-in-law's face flushed crimson. "You're selfish," she snapped. "After everything this family has done for you." I swallowed the urge to fire back. "No," I said quietly. "I'm responsible." The rest of the evening unraveled quickly. Guests left in awkward clusters. The cake remained half-cut. Decorations that were meant to shine now looked cheap and hollow. At home, the real confrontation began. "You humiliated me," my husband said. "I saved us," I replied. "For my mother's birthday, at the cost of our life." He paced the living room, anger battling shame. "I promised her," he repeated. "And you promised me," I said softly. "When we got married, You promised we were a team. That word hit him harder than anything else. Team. Marriage isn't about grand gestures for applause. It's about quiet decisions made in kitchens at midnight. It's about choosing your partner even when your parents expect otherwise. The next few days were icy. His mother called constantly, leaving messages filled with guilt and accusations. His sister posted cryptic comments online about ungrateful wives. But something shifted inside my husband. He saw the bank statement. He saw the numbers we had almost lost. He saw how many years of work that money represented. One evening, he sat down beside me. I didn't think it through, he admitted. That was the first honest sentence in a week. I just wanted her to be proud of me. And I want to build something with you, I replied. He nodded slowly. The following weekend, we visited his mother. Not with car keys, not with grand speeches, with a framed photo of our family and a handwritten letter from him. He apologized, not for the missing car, but for making promises he couldn't responsibly keep. She wasn't thrilled, she wasn't smiling, but reality has a way of settling in once the spotlight fades. Months passed, the fixed deposit grew, our apartment fund strengthened, and something else grew too, boundaries. We started discussing big financial decisions together. No more surprises, no more secret withdrawals. We even began meeting with a financial advisor to plan smarter. The shock of that birthday became a turning point. A painful one, but necessary. Looking back, I realized the story was never about a car. It was about respect. It was about partnership. It was about understanding that love for parents should not erase commitment to a spouse. Sometimes the most powerful gift you can give isn't shiny or expensive. Sometimes it's the courage to say no. And in a hall full of gold decorations and forced smiles, that no echoed louder than any engine ever could. By the time my mother-in-law turned 61, the tension had softened. Not disappeared, but softened. And as for us, we finally got the keys we had truly been saving for. Not to a car in someone else's driveway, but to a home with our names on the door. And that, more than any birthday surprise, was worth protecting. The weeks after the birthday disaster felt heavier than the night itself. The silence in our apartment wasn't peaceful, it was thick, like fog that refused to lift. My husband moved carefully around me, as if one wrong word would detonate another explosion. I didn't want distance, but I refused to pretend nothing had happened. Part of me kept replaying the scene in the banquet hall. The frozen smile, the whispers, the stunned look in his eyes when he realized the money was gone. I hadn't acted out of revenge. I had acted out of fear, fear of losing our future, fear of being second place in my own marriage. 3 days after the party, his mother called again. This time, he answered on speaker without realizing it. I cannot believe what your wife did, she began, her tone sharp as glass. In front of everyone, do you know how embarrassed I was? He glanced at me. I stayed quiet. Mom, he said carefully, we couldn't afford the car. You promised. I know. There it was again, that word. Promise. It had become a weapon in this family. I gave you everything, she continued. I worked double shifts. I sacrificed. And when I finally ask for something, your wife takes it away. I felt something snap inside me. Not anger, clarity. She didn't take anything from you, he said slowly. I made a mistake. Silence filled the line. It was the first time he had taken responsibility without deflecting it onto me. After he hung up, we sat at the kitchen table. I need to understand something, I said calmly. If I hadn't moved the money, would you really have gone through with it? He didn't answer immediately. Yes, he admitted. That honesty hurt, but it was better than denial. And what would we have done after? I asked. Start saving from zero again. Borrow money. Fight every month over bills. He rubbed his forehead. I wasn't thinking that far. That's the problem, I whispered. You were thinking like a son, not like a husband. That sentence lingered in the air. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Instead of fighting, we started talking, really talking. About money, about expectations, about guilt. He told me stories I had never fully understood before. How his mother would remind him of her sacrifices whenever he disappointed her. How success, in her eyes, meant visible proof, expensive gifts, grand gestures, public admiration. I always felt like I owed her, he confessed one evening. You don't owe someone your entire future, I replied softly. Gratitude is not debt. That conversation shifted everything, but growth is never smooth. A week later, his sister showed up at our door unannounced. She didn't even sit down before starting. You could have handled it privately, she said. Why humiliate Mom? I didn't humiliate her, I responded evenly. I protected our savings. You think money is more important than family? No, I said firmly. But stability is important for marriage. She rolled her eyes. He was trying to do something beautiful. With money that wasn't just his, I replied. She left angry, but something in her expression told me she had heard the truth, even if she didn't like it. Meanwhile, the dealership began calling my husband about the pending purchase. He had placed a verbal commitment. They expected payment. He canceled the order. That phone call was harder for him than the party had been. I could see it in the way his shoulders slumped afterward. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about breaking a lifelong pattern of trying to earn approval. The following Sunday, we did something new. We created a financial plan. Not a vague, we'll manage, but a detailed roadmap. Monthly savings targets, emergency fund goals, a realistic timeline for buying our apartment. For the first time in weeks, we felt like partners again. But the real turning point came unexpectedly. About a month later, my mother-in-law slipped in her kitchen and fractured her wrist. It wasn't severe, but she needed help for a few weeks. Despite everything, we went. We cooked, cleaned, drove her to doctor appointments. We didn't bring up the car. We didn't revisit the argument. One afternoon, while I was washing dishes in her kitchen, she walked in slowly, her arm in a cast. You really moved the money? She asked without looking at me. Yes. Why? Because we've been saving for 5 years, I answered quietly. For a home. For children someday. For security. She leaned against the counter. My son wanted to give me something big, she said. It made me feel valued. You are valued, I said gently. But not because of a car. She didn't respond, but her expression softened just slightly. Sometimes pride hides vulnerability. Later that evening, she called my husband into the living room. I didn't hear the entire conversation, but I caught fragments. I don't want you struggling, she said. We weren't struggling, he replied. We almost were. When we left her house that night, something felt different. Not perfect, not magically healed, but less hostile. Months passed. Our savings grew steadily. The fixed deposit matured, and this time, we both signed before moving funds anywhere. Trust, once cracked, takes time to rebuild. But it does rebuild, if both people are willing. One evening, while scrolling through apartment listings, my husband turned to me. Thank you, he said suddenly. For what? For stopping me. That was the moment I had been waiting for. Not an apology shouted in anger, not a defensive explanation. Just gratitude. You could have let me fail publicly, he continued. But you didn't expose me. You protected us. I smiled faintly. It didn't feel that heroic at the time. He laughed softly. It felt like betrayal then. I know. And now, he said, it feels like partnership. 6 months after the infamous birthday, we signed a contract for a small but bright 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't luxurious, no marble floors, no skyline view, but it was ours. The day we received the keys, we stood in the empty living room surrounded by echoing walls and possibility. This, I said, holding up the keys, is worth more than any car. He wrapped his arms around me. I almost traded this for applause, he admitted. But you didn't. We invited his mother to see the apartment a week later. She walked through each room quietly. It's smaller than I imagined, she said at first. My husband smiled. It's perfect for us. She paused in the doorway of the kitchen. You did the right thing, she said finally, not looking at me, but not avoiding me either. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't tearful, but it was enough. Over time, the story of the missing car transformed into family legend. At gatherings, someone would joke about that birthday surprise. The tension slowly faded into humor. But for me, it remained a reminder. Marriage isn't tested when everything is easy. It's tested when loyalty pulls in 2 directions. When expectations collide. When love for parents competes with commitment to a spouse. I don't regret what I did. Not because I wanted to win, but because I wanted us to survive. And survival requires boundaries. A year later, on my mother-in-law's 61st birthday, we celebrated quietly at her home. No rented hall, no golden arches of balloons. My husband gave her a thoughtful gift, a weekend spa voucher within our budget. Paid for openly, discussed together. She hugged him warmly, and then she hugged me too. You're stubborn, she whispered with a faint smile. So are you, I replied. We both laughed. The shock that once shattered a party had, in a strange way, rebuilt our marriage stronger than before. Not because conflict disappeared, but because we learned how to face it side by side. Looking back now, I realize something important. If I had stayed silent, resentment would have grown like mold in the walls of our relationship. Every bill, every sacrifice, every postponed dream would have reminded me of that car. Instead, we chose discomfort in the moment over regret for years. And that choice changed everything. Love isn't about dramatic promises shouted into microphones. It's about quiet agreements signed at kitchen tables. It's about choosing, as, when the world expects, me. The night of the party, everyone expected an engine to roar outside the hall. Instead, they witnessed something far more powerful. A marriage refusing to be driven off course. And that shock, the one no one anticipated, became the foundation of a future we built together.